Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com, and on my continuing series on making the move from Windows 10 to Linux Mint. Today I'm going to be talking about a subject that is really important to a lot of people who are on Windows or even people who are on a Mac, and that is the whole subject of video editing on Linux. Now, before I start, if you have not seen my original video where I talk about installing VirtualBox on your Windows or Mac, and then after that installing Linux Mint 17.3 Rosa on your virtual machine, be sure to check out that tutorial in my description below, or I'll leave a card up here somewhere. Now, on this particular episode, I'm not going to be doing this episode on the virtual machine because these programs, they are not pre-installed, and it would take me a while to install them on the virtual machine. And also, all of these video editing programs, they do take up a lot more resources on my computer, and so it just wouldn't run as fast. So with that being said, the very first thing that we want to talk about are the options that you have that I'm going to recommend for Linux Mint, and also some ones that I use personally myself. Now, the first thing is you want to look at the programs that you can actually install. So what you want to do is go here to your menu, go to your administration, and then you can just open up your software manager, okay? So whenever you open up your software manager, just simply go here to sound and video, okay? And the two that I recommend installing is Openshot, which is right here, which is the one I'm going to be talking about the most. And then there's also another one called Kdenlive, okay? And these are both free. And there is another program that I'm going to be talking about, and this is optional, it's up to you. It's called Blender. I also recommend that you can install that too. Actually, let me go back to here, okay? Go back here to the main menu and then type in Blender. Yeah, I would install this as well, okay? And the great thing about Linux is all of this is free. Now, there's only one program that's not free, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. So I would install those programs first. And even if you don't use them, it is great to have them. And if you really do a lot of video editing, or you're thinking about video editing, having these tools are great. Now, there are some other options on Linux which are not in the software manager. And I'm going to be talking about this right here. The very first one is Cinelera. Okay, if you go to cinelera.org, this website's a little weird because when you click on download, let me just show you, okay, so you don't freak out. When you click on download, the page is not found. So don't worry, it's not a sketchy site or anything. I just think that their link on their website, they didn't have it correctly going to the right page. So what you do is when you click on download, on Cinderella, click on Cinderella, and then it'll take you to the real download page, okay? Now, Cinelera, I have not used it a lot yet. However, I might start learning how to use this because it is more, I would say, more advanced than the Openshot, and also Kdenlive. And how you download this is important. Just don't click on the link. If you do, it'll try to open up this tar file and it'll just look weird. What I recommend you do is just right click on your mouse and then save link as, okay? And whenever you do that, it's going to download the file right here, okay? And then whenever this file is downloaded, you right click on your mouse and then you extract here. Okay, this is from the Windows world, this is like a WinZip file, okay? In Linux, it compresses files a little differently. It does tar, okay? Now, after you extract it, this folder will come up. And I'm going to get into Cinderella in a little bit more detail later on, okay? Okay, so the other option, and I think this is really the only alternative in my opinion, if you do this professionally, is Lightworks. Now, Lightworks, it is available on all platforms, and it is for pro users. Now, there is a free version. However, it's really annoying because you have to constantly renew your license, and it's limited, okay? So the full version is about $500. So if you go here to Lightworks Pro, you can pay for this monthly, but I don't like doing that. So, an outright license, yeah, it's about yeah, $440. So it's about $500 after taxes and everything. I myself, I'm thinking I'm going to make the move to Likeworks because I am doing more videos. And as you'll see, these other free alternatives on Linux, they are definitely excellent. I mean, actually, they're absolutely amazing for the fact that they're free. However, if you are going to be doing this professionally and you're going to be doing this a lot, like myself, I'm probably definitely going to make the move to Likeworks because, you know, unfortunately, Adobe related products, they're not available on Linux, and neither Apple products. Now, if you do go to the Adobe site, you know, there are like web-based versions of their tools, but I myself, I don't like that. I like to have my video editor installed on my machine, you know, so that I don't have to get online to use it, and it is much faster using it on my machine than having to do it through the internet. So if you go to Adobe, they do have online versions available through the cloud, so you could also use that as well. However, I'm going to specifically focus on the ones that you could actually install on your machine itself. So let's go ahead and talk about the ones that we've installed. Okay, so the first one, and the one that I'm going to be spending all my time talking about really, is Openshot. So let's open that one up. And Openshot is absolutely my favorite to use in terms of really getting a video out there quickly. It has a lot of good features. It's not the most powerful tool in terms of features and availability to edit your videos and so forth. However, for somebody who is just new to video editing, or for somebody who doesn't want to pay $500-600 for Adobe products, Openshot is excellent. And also, it's extremely stable, you know. So, and remember, all of these are free, okay? And they're all open source, you know, with the exception of Likeworks and Adobe products, of course. So this is my preferred tool, and I'll go into that here a little bit later. Now, the second tool is Kdenlive. A lot of people like Kdenlive. I myself, I use Openshot. Now, Kdenlive, it does definitely have more features than Openshot. However, I've had problems with Kdenlive crashing more frequently than I would like. And also, whenever I'm exporting this video, there's been problems. And so I think it's really due to compatibilities with your hardware, I think. And so that's really a software issue. But basically, the reason why I don't use Kdenlive as my main one is because of those things. It has technical issues, and on top of it, the learning curve is definitely higher than it is on Openshot. Okay, so it's not as easy to use. And then let's go to Kdenlive, okay? So as you remember, downloaded it, we extracted the folder. And this one, it's not the easiest to use, okay? And this, you know, it doesn't like install it on your programs down here, okay? There is a way to do that, but for me, the easiest way is I just extract it and see this Kdenlive file here. You just double click on it so it's like an executable, okay? And this one, I think it's going to be more powerful than both Openshot and Kdenlive, as you see whenever it comes up. Okay, there it is. See? So this one, I think, is going to be a lot more for, I guess, semi to pro users. I'm probably going to spend some time learning how to use this. So it looks like it is definitely a powerful tool, but usually the ones that are most powerful, I don't know why, but they're not the most user-friendly, but I'm assuming that's because they're catering to a different crowd. So once I start learning Kdenlive, and if I like it, I might do another tutorial just about Kdenlive, okay? Now, there is a final tool that I'm going to be talking about, and this is a wonderful tool. I haven't used it a lot, but I think it is an amazing tool. And so that tool is going to be Blender. Okay, if you go to graphics, you open up Blender, and this is an amazing tool. It's actually geared towards 3D modeling, but I'm pretty sure you could also use this for video editing. But once again, this is not for, you know, newbies. This is really, as you can see here, this is meant for people who know what they're doing, or who want to learn a lot about 3D modeling, animation, and so forth. But this is an extremely fully featured, extremely complex and powerful tool. But once again, it is absolutely amazing. This is open source and it's free. And so those are the main video editing options that I'm going to recommend. And I'm going to close these other ones down, and I'm going to specifically talk about Openshot, which is the one that I primarily use on Linux. However, I also use Kdenlive every now and then as well. So let me close down Blender and Cinelever. Now, the majority of what I do, I know it's kind of funny sounding, but the majority of what I do in terms of video editing, I do it on my phone, because the video editors and the power that I have through my phone, it's actually better than what I have on my laptop. Okay, so a lot of my video editing, I actually do it on my phone, and I might do a different video on that one. But on Linux, this is why I like Openshot. Okay, it's very easy to use. So let me show you real quick. So you have what's called a project, folder. That's what they call it, a project. Every time you create a video, it's called a project. So what you would do is you would add your files right here. You could do import files, or you could go to import files right here through file. Okay, so I'm going to just import a few files. I have some video files right here. So I'm going to add these right here. They're really short clips. And you could add multiple files. Just hold down Control. And it's not just limited to video files. You could add pictures. You could add video files. And what I recommend you do, as soon as you import those files, I recommend you go ahead and save this as a project file, okay? Because I've done this before where I do all this work, I forgot to save it, and sometimes my computer, if I'm doing a lot of things, and this is an older computer, sometimes it causes the Openshot to have problems. It'll freeze or it might crash. Now, it doesn't happen often, but if you're doing a lot of stuff and you don't have the hardware to do it, that might occur. So because of that, I didn't have my project file saved, so I lost everything. So I recommend you save your project file first. You can save it wherever you want. So I'm going to save it in the home folder. And I just leave the project file profile the same. I don't really mess with that at all. I just want to save it. Okay. So now it's saved. So if you've never used a video editor, it's all based upon like this track system. I don't know the actual specific term, but you just add all your files to these different tracks. So for example, let's add this right here. You just drag it down. You could also right click on your mouse and then add to timeline. Okay, that's what it is. It's actually timeline. So all video editors, they're timeline based. Okay, so if you see now, I have it down here, and you notice there's multiple tracks, but there's a reason for that. And then when you press play, there's your video right there. Okay. Now you could also add multiple tracks. Okay, that's why they have these here. So it's a timeline. So for example, I could just drag this down here. And I could put it wherever I want, which is really cool. And like I said, if you're new to video editing, this type of stuff is going to be pretty cool to you. So if I press play now, it's going to finish this clip, and then it's going to quickly jump over to the very next clip. Okay, bam. Okay, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through every single detail of this tool, but I am going to show you some highlights. Okay, now you'll notice there's this, tools up here. So some of these tools, what you can do is, number one, this is a razor tool. What this allows you to do is cut different parts of it. Okay, so like for example, on this video, I want to cut out the last part of it. Okay, so you just click on it, and then you'll notice this line will be created. That means there's a cut or splice in the actual clip. Now, before you do anything else, make sure that you go back to the arrow tool or the move tool, so that you don't accidentally start splicing parts of the videos that you didn't want. Now, once you do that, you're able to move the clip around freely. You're also able to add it to different tracks. And if you want, you could also remove this clip by simply right-clicking your mouse, and you could remove the clip itself, okay? Now it's no longer part of your actual project. Now, one thing I want to stress is make sure that you save often, okay? So you could just do a file save. Or if you don't want to do that, there's a quick option right here. This is the save. You just click on that and it'll save it, okay? So save often, because you know, if you are working on a big project or just any project in general, the last thing that you want is if you're working on a lot of stuff and for some reason your hardware or even the software, it has problems or it crashes or something, you would have lost that whole project. So I recommend you save often, okay? So going back to this, now that you spliced it, you could actually move your other video, move it closer, because you remember there's going to be a blank here, like if you played it, you know, so it follows one right after another. And so if you didn't move this around, you'd have a blank there. So, and see now your next video clip shows. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now let's move on to the next part of the tool, which would be the resize tool. Okay, so what is the primary reason for the resize tool? Well, for me, I just use it for images. Let me show you what I mean. So let me add an image. Okay, go to import files. I do have a picture here. Okay, save that. So I'm going to add this right here. Okay, or maybe, oops, let me go back right here. Let me move this right here. Okay, so, and the reason why I use this is because, for example, say like I wanted to stretch this image out a little longer, and you see what I mean. So here's my image. Now it overlays on top of this. I'll talk about that in a minute. But you know, say I wanted to talk about some other stuff after this video, and you know, my video clips ended, okay? What you could do is you could leave the image there and just stretch it out. So then you could add, you know, more voiceovers or whatever. And so what you do is you use the stretch tool, and I could stretch this image out. Okay, let me save that. Go back to my arrow tool. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So like when I press play, you know, there's my video, and it's going to be done here in a few seconds. Here's my image, you know, and then my video is done, but my image is still there. So that's the reason why I use this particular tool. Okay, so that's what that's for. Now this tool, it's a snapping tool, and what it does is whenever you're cutting stuff or you're moving stuff around, really when you're moving stuff around, the tool tries to snap things back so that it makes it easier for you to work on your timeline where you don't have to manually try to snap stuff. So it'll try to pull it back accordingly, okay? After that, there's a marker tool. So what you would do is, say I wanted to cut it at a certain point, okay? See, I just press that, and guess what? You know, it adds this tool, okay? So, or if you wanted to mark like certain parts of the video, so that this is primarily for you to remember or for you to mark places where you want to make changes. And at the same time, if you right click on it, you could remove the marker as well. So that's what that's for. And see, with the markers, if you have a very long project, you could jump from marker to marker without having to use this long scroll bar, okay? Because that could take a while, especially if you have long videos like the ones I'm doing right now. Markers help, okay? Now, the other thing is tracks, okay? Like right now, you notice there's only 2 tracks available. So what you can do, you can add a track, okay? You just press that, and bam, you have a new track, okay? And also, you could right-click on your mouse, and you could add tracks above, below. You could move the tracks up and down. You could also delete or clear tracks as well, or even rename them, okay? And if you're working on a lot of tracks, I definitely recommend you name your tracks so you know where you're at. And also, you could also add audio files as well, as I mentioned earlier. So why that's important to have multiple tracks is, you know, you could put your audio wherever you want, you know, so you have like nice voiceovers and stuff. So that is the primary gist of editing here for Openshot. Now you could also do things like transitions. Let me show you what that means. Let me save this first. So for example, if I'm back here, okay, and I want to make a transition from here to here, meaning I want something to happen before I get into this next clip. So you would just click on transition, and let's just choose something simple. I'll just use this blinds, okay? And I'm going to add the transition right here. You would just drag this down, okay? And let's go ahead and go back here. You press play, and there you go. There's your transition, okay? And there's other things you could do with the transition. You could right click on your mouse. You could shift it. You could do things such as masking. You could change the direction. You could duplicate the transition. And you could even, adjust the time, the area where the transitions are. There's a lot of features you could do here. You could also do things such as effects. Okay, let me show you what that is. So let's come here. Okay, and let's try this blur effect. Or yeah, let's try this blur effect. Or maybe have it black and white. Let's make it cool. I'm gonna add it right here. Okay, so let's go back here and let's see how this looks. Okay, here's my transition. Now see, this whole clip now is black and white. Now there are many other things you could do. You could adjust these details, how it works and so forth, but that's going to take longer. It's going to take longer for you to learn those things, but it is possible. Now for each clip, you can also, you see these options. There's an eyeball and there's audio. You could actually not have this clip seen for whatever reason. See, so now whenever you're watching this clip won't show up. Let me show you. So when I get to my transition, and now see, it doesn't show up. Okay, or you could also mute the audio as well. Okay, like for example, you wanted to put a different audio, or maybe you just want to show the video or image. Okay, so this mainly has to do with the video, so and you can uncheck that as well. And after you're done with your project, you could actually export it, which is the last and most important step. You could actually export it, and Openshot already has some built-in profiles. Okay, and what I mean by profiles is they have certain settings for the video, and so if you're going to be exported to web, you could choose web, and then your target, let's say like I export to YouTube HD, and then you could choose the resolution for this particular profile. Okay, the 720p, that's the max for this profile, and you can use low, medium, or high. Now you could also go in advanced settings and change a lot of things here, but I think for most people that's really complicated. Okay, so most of the times you could just use this profile, it's already built in. Now for myself, the profile that I use, because I do want to export this higher than YouTube, the 720p, so there is like an all profiles up here. Go here, all formats, and this will give you a lot more options. So if I go to MPEG 4, you notice I have 1080p options. Okay, now 4K is not currently available on Openshot, at least this version. The software that I talked about earlier, Cinderella, it does have 4K. Okay, so I just do it in 1080p, 25 frames, then high. Okay, now I'm not going to go ahead and do the export, but whenever you export the video, it'll create a MP4 or whatever file you chose in that specific folder, and it'll name it whatever you want. Okay, I would definitely rename it something else that's different from your project file so that you don't get it confused. Okay, so I would name it test video or test finish or whatever you had it named originally. Just name it something different. Okay, let me see, cancel that. And there are like other options up here. There's an undo. There's also redo, and you could also add things such as titles. Okay, so you wanted to have like some text. Okay, you could choose many different options. Let me just add this, and this is just for fun, so I'm going to just create this title. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to say hello video or something like that. Okay, well, I need to learn how to spell first. Okay, just click on apply, and then apply. And then now if you go to your project files, you see there's a text thing, and you can just pop it right here. And let me show you how that works. Now this is a feature that I don't specifically use a lot. See, there's your title. And I don't really like the title feature here because it's not very powerful, and you can't easily change the type of font and stuff. And you'll understand that once you get into that more. So I didn't want this video to go in too much detail. So you're going to have to spend some time to learn Openshot if that's the tool that you want to use. But all the things that I covered, those are the primary tools. And if you are used to doing video editing, this should be very easy for you. So that is it for this particular episode on video editors on Linux Mint. And Linux in general, these are the primary tools that most people use. And Openshot and Kdenlive, they are the two most popular, but there's other options as I talked about. So if you had any other type of video editors that you use on Linux, leave them in the comments area below. And if you had any other ideas or recommendations, I'd like to hear that as well. And if you had any other questions for me, you could always send me a snap at Geek Outdoors as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.